The Berger report on the feasibility of the Mackenzie Valley Pipeline was tabled in the Canadian House of Commons on April 15, 1977. In it, Justice Berger recommends a 10-year moratorium on gas pipeline construction and that no pipeline will ever be built across the Mackenzie Delta. In the aftermath of this report, we traveled to the Northwest Territories to speak to the Native peoples and their leaders who live on the Delta and along the Mackenzie Valley to see what their present reaction is to pipeline construction and a 10-year moratorium. We asked them in their own settlements, without intermediaries, how they felt about the present and the future if the pipeline was built or if it was stopped or delayed. The results are surprising. The Mackenzie includes a vast area of land in the Northwest Territories, but the numbers of Native peoples there are relatively few. There are Treaty Indians, called the Deni, represented by the Indian Brotherhood, the Inuit, or Inuvialuit, represented by Cope, and the Métis and non-status Indians represented by the Métis Association. Each group has its own views on development, on the feasibility, timing, and control of development by Native peoples. Among these divided organizations, but more importantly, among the people themselves, several facts are extremely clear. The Native people of the Northwest Territories want to be able to control any development that occurs. Many people want development as long as their land claims are fairly settled and their way of life is respected. It is time now for the Native peoples of the Mackenzie to speak for themselves.
Young people cut it up. Cut in Sunday. I could do things like cut in.
He said he thought that if the pipeline came through, he said everybody was going to benefit from it. This is what he said already, and he still thinks that. He said he knows most of the younger people or the younger people from here don't agree with him, but he still thinks that they should have the pipeline. He said everybody's going to benefit from it.
Well, I know, I really don't want it because I want all my people to live the way we always lived. Bella, you know, if the pipeline came through, I don't think we have free life anymore. We can't even set our own net, I know, of my little experience from living in the Yukon. And I seen some Indians, how they made their living. And right now, today, if we wanted to hunt rats, we can go anywhere. And want to set rabbit snare, we can set snare. And then we get our meal. We get rabbit, we'll bring it back and cook it and the way we want it. And we can cut our own wood. Right now, today, we still cut wood. We like that kind of work. And then, even already, I cook some wild rhubarb, my Indian fruit. And later on, we'll be going for bears and put the bears away for winter. Anywhere we can pick bears. But if the pipeline came, the people will also come. All kinds of people. And then we are told that there's 10 years is too long to wait. How many years do we have? We did without pipeline. We never even heard of pipeline. And we did our living. Many of us, as old as we are, we can still do things that we used to do.
Well, the white man said, those poor devils, we got to educate them so they can make a living like us, eh? But I can't see anywhere where they're profiting by it, and if they don't get jobs, what else can they do? Because they've lost their bush life. This is 100% because I've learned that from experience. When you go to school, you can't learn anything out of the bush. And when you go to school, if you don't go the limit, well, then you can't go into either fence, eh? So you're stuck in the middle. As far as I'm concerned, that's all I can see about it.
My children, well, a lot of them been going to just, you know, out of school, and they don't know how to trap or fish. Or I don't think they even know how to make a fire in the bush by themselves.
In order to get along with civilization, you got to be just as good or better in order to hold your head up, eh? But if you can't do that, you're the underdog, eh? So this is my education out of the bush.
It doesn't mean nothing to us because we're old, but our children need job and they need money. We need money to have to dress ourselves and food and stuff like that. So I'm not against it.
We have no use for the pipeline. We have been living here for years and years, and we're still living. And some people say that that we need the pipeline for employment, but just for at least 10 to 20 years of gas, they want to ruin our land just by building the pipeline, and we don't want that.
Never did given that a thought, but I feel that if we get that pipeline through, then we sort of gonna have to stay home, like behind locked doors, because there'll be no trespassing signs all over the place. I think more and more the young people are gonna be working for the pipeline, and probably some of them will stick on for a year or something, and in that way we'll lose our way of life, the way in which we used to live, like trapping and fishing and so on. We won't be relying on that anymore. And we've been talking about that at these meetings, saying that we don't want a pipeline. We'd like to live the way we did.
Well, the government financed the organizations, the North, to prepare for the Berger hearings. And prior to each community hearing, field workers of the organizations came into the community, and I myself worked for these organizations, and the people in communities were given all the negative parts of the pipeline, and no real information was given concerning how a pipeline was being built. And so I think fear was put into a lot of community people concerning the pipeline. And so I think this is why throughout the whole Northwest Territories, every community sort of patterned out like a Klavik did. At the first day of the hearing, there was everybody was against the building of a pipeline. And so from there on, right down to Mackenzie, all the communities said the same thing: no pipeline until a land settlement. And we were told this by the Brotherhood and the Media Association before in the communities. And so I think really us field workers put fear into the people concerning the pipeline. Really our message was that we seen the pipeline as a vehicle for us, seeing that land claims is priority with the government. And we figured that if a pipeline was built, the land claims, priority on land claims would drop, and that the government would just set back, sort of shelf the land claims settlement and can hold us off as long as they want. So this is the message that the field workers put across in all the communities, and I think that the Brotherhood Media Association done a damn good job about it now. I think some people are sorry that it's been done. And I don't think a lot of them are really afraid of the pipeline. The actual pipeline itself, I think, is the influx of white people that would come in from the south. Right now, the present view of the Brotherhood is that there'd be no development until land claims settlement. And personally, myself, I believe that there should be a certain amount of development in Northwest Territories to sort of get the people prepared for a pipeline. It doesn't matter if it's a major project of some kind. I think that exploration work should still continue in the north here in the Delta, and I think that the government has given some of the oil companies money for exploration. I think that they should continue with this exploration, because I think at some time in the future whatever they find in the Delta is going to be to the benefit of Canada.
My hope is that we'll have some kind of a small type development, something that's going to make these people get into the wage economy, because a lot of these people, especially the young ones, can't go out to the land for any period of time because they don't really understand the hunting and trapping, and others have been educated, and we have to have an economic base, definitely have to have one. But we're dependent a lot on welfare. We're a very high unemployed community. We've got 300 unemployed. The rest of the Northwest Territories is going to be suffering because of it. The people here, when they were talking with Berger in the community hall, they told him, no, we don't want no pipeline. It's centered around the pipeline, definitely centered around the pipeline. And if they had to talk about another subject, development, I'm sure the people, like when the commissioner was here, they told the commissioner they want to have development. And we have to have that kind of a development. But we've never had any development in this area other than a mine that had been started here a few years ago. We've never worked in a true working force to understand what development, even in a smaller scale, really is. So therefore, this is why I say that a lot of it is built up on fear and emotion. And the biggest thing is that the people here have the feeling that they want the land claim settlement. If they would have built the pipeline, I think we would have got things from it, spin-off programs from it. But like I say, I cannot say that the people here want it because they don't want the pipeline. The older people, true, we've got probably 100 or so that'll still stay on the land. They have been doing so before and continue to do so. But the majority of the younger people that cannot depend upon the land or go for just short periods of time, those are the people that I'm very much concerned about. And this is what's misleading to the South through the Berger report.
Berger report suits us fine. With it was a fantastic report, and this 10-year moratorium that he had recommended, we thought was great, because COPE has never wanted to see a pipeline development going on, not before the land claims, land rights settlement is already settled. There's a lot of things to consider. As far as we in the valley are concerned, the Western Arctic is ours, the oil and gas is ours under the ocean. There are 305,000 square miles of land and waters in the Western Arctic, and we own all of it. And until we get land rights settled, everything is ours right now.
We were not particularly happy over Judge Berger's recommendation for a 10-year moratorium, although our position in regards to a pipeline is that the outstanding land claims of the Native people in the Northwest Territories should be settled, and then the construction of Mackenzie Valley Pipeline can go ahead. But we certainly do not believe that a 10-year moratorium is going to be required. We think in terms of possibly 2 to 3 years when things can be settled and the pipeline can go ahead then. So our feeling on a 10-year moratorium, if that were accepted by the Cabinet, then we would be in a position where you would never see a pipeline down in Mackenzie Valley. And the effects on the future economy of the North, in our estimation, would be disastrous, because we'd be faced with a situation where people would have nothing but welfare programs to turn to for jobs, and that is going to be terrible, especially for the young children that we have coming out of school over the next few years. Feel that these kids coming out of school with no jobs to go home to, we could possibly see a large immigration to the south of our young people in the north, and it certainly would not help us at all. Our dealings with the federal government is that they'd far prefer to see, while talking for the Mackenzie Valley, they'd far prefer to see us all within one organization, and that's who the federal government would deal with. What the problem has been is that our organization and the Indian Brotherhood could not come to an agreement on what form a land claim settlement in the valley should take, and that is the only reason why things are split here now. It's difficult to understand why the Indian Brotherhood have taken the position that they have, but the best theory that I can come up with ties in with a lot of people that are working with them, particularly the the white consultants and the whole southern support group, all the groups in the south that are supporting them, and what they are trying to accomplish, you know, from my viewpoint, is to defeat the multinational corporations. And in my view, we as Native people in the Mackenzie Valley are just pawns in a gigantic game between the socialist and capitalist camps. And I'm afraid that the Brotherhood has, you know, fallen into one camp. So we wonder, you know, who is serious about trying to unite people in the Mackenzie Valley, because we put a lot of effort into it, and every time we've done it, the Indian Brotherhood has scuttled the idea each time.
Every community should be able to benefit from that pipe, other than what little work we'll get out of it. Otherwise, the Berger report, some of it is okay, you know, but I think he overdid it as far as when he talks about the environment and all the beautiful pictures that he showed of the birds and the animals as overdone. I don't think that the 10-year moratorium, anybody could live with a 10-year moratorium. You take a look at your kids, you know, you send them to school and you anticipating that there's going to be a job for them when they come out. They can do this, we'll do that. But there's nothing to look forward to. We could say that our kids have been wasting their years in school. And for what, you know?
And what we've been saying all along is that people have lived up here. They have lived off the land for the last number of generations, and people are still making a living off the land today. People in Politak, where I'm from, is making an income equivalent to the wage economy people are accustomed to down south.
We've been trapping rats. You think this pipeline will hurt the trapping or the rats especially? Well, I think it's going to destroy the country for this pipeline. Yeah. Because I know that, I figure I know it's about, when the Imperial Oil started, I know it's going to hurt something, and it's going on now. Yeah. It's really hurting the country, and it's really hurting us. When the government start giving the native treaty, they promise that no white man is going to come here. If a white man comes on this land to stay for a while, he's got to pay. And if it's going to cut tree down, he's got to pay. And look at all these roads that the government, the oil people is cutting out now. This way and this way. And if you look at it from the air, you all see it. It's all cut up, and we're really against the pipeline. Oh yeah, sure is. And there's no end for talking like that all the way through. There's no end to it. It's going to be some kind of pressure alongside the pipeline that's going to push the oil. That's going to be making noise all the time, and that noise is going to spread in the cold weather, and that cowboy is going to stay away from there. Yeah, and then this pipeline, to build this pipeline, every summertime is forest fire. They're going to destroy that land. Land will burn more. And that, if that gas come through that pipeline, if the gas exploded, will explode both sides of that pipeline. And it's going to destroy the earth.
For me, I didn't have nothing against that. Of course, for the young people, I think it's a better thing to have pipeline than nothing. Of course, you can never depend on trapping now like used to be. Used to be lots where people could easily make a living, can depend on it. But now It's a difference. It's hardly anything. In 1943-44, I was working from Norman Wells towards Whitehorse, and they put a pipe there pumping oil, you know. They make that highway that time. I was driving truck that time for that outfit, you know. That was Americans put through that pipeline. It was, we see lots of carbo, and most even the, what do you call bighorn sheep, they call that. They go like this, and we see that kind, and large whole brain tracks we see. It don't seem to make it to be scared of anything. They go past anyway. I don't think they make difference for pipeline, really me. But them people think differently, you know. I don't know why.
A lot of people today say that all this exploration work that's going on through the north here, cut lands and whatnot, destroyed their land already. Well, I know myself that the native people themselves do use these lines to trap on, and they hunt moose on it, and they kill moose on these lines, and they've caught fur on these lines. And I've got all kinds of lines back here, cut lines, that I use every year to trap on. And I've caught just as much fur on those cut lines as I did on an old dog trail.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of kids here that's all going to school, like, you know. And when they get out of school, I don't know what they're going to do. Because they got to have work. There's nothing to trap in the country. If there's too many trappers, it'd just be useless. It'd starve to death on it. So that's why I think we should have a pipeline. Closer the better. And the sooner it starts, the better.
Who will make the money at the end? It wouldn't be Canada. It wouldn't be Canadians. Canada will have lots to pay if there's any environmental problems, social impacts of development like the pipeline. I think us Canadians will pay the costs, you know, of all these big pipeline developments.
In Yellowknife, George Erasmus, president of the Indian Brotherhood, refused to be interviewed. However, he has said publicly that we are against the pipeline because we know that if the pipeline comes in before we have had a chance to exercise our right to self-determination, to get control over our lives, we will be destroyed. If this pipeline is authorized and built before we secure control over our lives and destinies, and if the Dene are destroyed, then everyone who contributes to that decision is a criminal.
The multinational corporations will talk to anybody that's willing to talk to them, and certainly we have been talking in particular to Canadian Arctic Gas, trying to find out, you know, what sort of business requirements they're going to need in the Mackenzie Valley if a pipeline is built, because the mandate we have from our people is that, you know, if a pipeline is built, we certainly want to get our share of the business action in it, and this is the reason we've been talking to them. Okay, well, firstly, we realize that that the jobs are short-term in the construction phase, but we must look at it from the point of view that this is 5 years of what could possibly be called short-term employment that we would otherwise not have. And secondly, on the operations phase of it, once the pipeline is built, there are approximately 250 jobs directly involved in running that pipeline. And these are 250 jobs that we would not have otherwise. And thirdly, right now in the north, we're living in a very false economy. The whole Northwest Territories is totally subsidized by the taxpayer from southern Canada to the tune of something like $400 million per year. And we would like to see a situation developed where the north is able to pay its own way eventually. And fourthly, if a land claim settlement is going to mean anything in real cash value for the native people of the Northwest Territories, we're going to have to start developing our resources. Otherwise, you know, there's no cash value to it.
And I'm also
for development, but I would hate to see some hazards caused by development, especially on older people who really don't understand what development can cause. And on the other hand, it's a necessity, I think, for many of us who have adjusted to it.
And the reports Berger got was mostly from the old people. The younger people didn't have the nerve to get up and say what they wanted, so they just stood back and let the old people do all the talking for them. There was a few educated students that came up and brought their views, but they probably said this because they were scared to hurt their parents or the older people, or their leaders, rather. This is why Berger said no pipeline for 10 years, because he listened to all the old people, and the younger people never had a chance to speak their minds. And it's still the same today. Now they start to realize that they need work, they have to have development, they need employment. So the younger people now start to wake up, and they start thinking of work, and they start thinking of pipeline. And I imagine that the rest of these kids that's coming out of school is going to think the same way, because they're not going to sit out here and run through the bush and go out and chop holes in the ice and visit their nest to get something to eat, when they could work 8 hours a day and have the evening off and go back to work next morning, and they got paycheck coming every 2 weeks. There's times I've went out on a trap line when I never caught anything.
So many people are against it, but there's a lot of them, I think, wanted a pipeline.
Everybody's got to adjust and adjust their lives accordingly, to the present day environment.
We wouldn't be free anymore if the pipeline came.
It's like saying, this is my boat, and this is my land. I do what I want with it.